Hi there, my name is Mary Henderson, and I'm about to get on the online prosperity show. And I'm super excited because we are going to cover personal branding, what it feels like to be in your natural state of being, how to start a business, why people can't start businesses and they seem to fail, and how you can be unapologetically yourself and build your brand essence so that you can stand out and you can be the go-to person in your area of specialization. So be sure to check it out and join Prosperity and I so we can serve you much better and you can walk away with a masterclass.
Now, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to yet another exciting episode of the Online Prosperity Show. I'm your host, Prosper Taruvinga, and here today we are going to be diving into yet another exciting episode because we've got the remarkable Mary joining us. Mary, how are you doing today?
How are you, Prosper? It's so awesome to be here. I cannot wait to start this conversation. So much to unpack.
Absolutely. If I get tongue-tied or if I actually start mincing my words, I've already told you why Mary, because I'm a little bit starstruck. And for those that are meeting Mary for the very first time, I don't know what rock you have been hiding under, because Mary is like I said, remarkable guest, but she's not only a personal branding genius but also an expert in building freedom-based service businesses. And I can't wait to hear a little bit more about who she is and what she's been doing, and especially how she's helping people create a personal brand and also an online business that's profitable and enjoyable. Now, Mary, it's fantastic to have you on the show today. Tell us a little bit about who Mary is and what really got you started, especially in personal branding that you're doing for online businesses.
Well, I think it's a good way for me to start, going all the way back to my timeline, when I came face to face with personal branding, which was back in year 2000, believe it or not. So 23 years ago, I understood the power of personal branding. I was in the tech industry. I was in middle management. I got the most amazing job of a lifetime that really changed the trajectory of my life. And it was in that job where I had a sliding door moment and I recognized, oh my God, if I can solve this complex problem, I can command my own demand in this industry and I can be known as a complex problem solver, which is exactly what I went and did. It was all very conscious, very strategic, very deliberate. And lo and behold, I knew exactly why I was doing what I was doing it for. And then I got headhunted by a tech company in California, and I worked for a multinational in the capacity of VP of sales for Asia Pacific. And and I had a massive sales team. And it was in that sales team, Prosper, where I thought, why do we have job descriptions? This is actually really weird and foreign and just so unhuman. Why don't we actually create our people into brands and match the human with the portfolio? And I think in sales, that's really critical. I wanted my salespeople to come to work and be themselves. I wanted them to be able to walk in the door and say, oh my God, I love being here, but because I can be myself. So my journey with personal branding really started from there. And I really understood it from a human standpoint. What does it actually mean to be in your natural state of being? And then, of course, from there, I then left that, the tech industry and then went into my own business, still in the tech industry. I started my own software company. I had my own tech peripheral company. And I had that for 7 years. Then I went on a 12-month sabbatical. And then in 2015, I launched my coaching business. And I knew, Prosper, in all of the 23 years, right up until this moment, what I realized is that human beings are multifaceted. So we shouldn't actually ever box ourselves and say, oh, I come from sales, so that's all I can do. We really have got so much wisdom, so much knowledge, so many accumulated skills. And because we are multifaceted, the question is, what do we do with all of those aspects of ourselves? So I merged all of my genius and my deliciousness, and I realized, oh, actually, I can actually help people convert their wisdom and their knowledge and their skill set, which I believe is a currency. And I can help these people convert all of that into a solution and then amplify their name and become a go-to brand. And today, that is exactly what I do. And I've been doing that since 2015.
Fantastic, fantastic. That is quite a journey, and I quite like, how everything sort of led to each other, simply predicated on a decision that you made. Now, just to start it all off, you were Y2K compliant before people even knew what computers were, right? What was it like working in the tech industry, especially at the start of all things tech? Because 2000 was a defining year, especially in the tech industry there.
Oh my God, it was just wild. I think it's the only way that I can describe it. And this is actually a great way for me to also introduce my version of personal branding, which it is about making sure that you always understand who you are in your natural state of being. So me, I love speed. I love new. I love that chaotic environment. I love solving complex problems. And the tech industry was a no-brainer for me. It was like that I knew was a perfect match to my persona. And so because I love speed and because I love to roll my sleeves up and really, really get into the micro detail of solving problems, I was a perfect candidate for that industry, which is why I was very, very successful in the tech industry because I was the perfect persona for that. And there was a lot of the thing about the tech industry is that it's evolving by the second it's still till this day. Nothing's changed. The only thing that's changed is technology is smarter and faster. And but it was just incredible, that back then it was dynamic. I think that's the only way I can describe it.
Fantastic. I quite like that. And you're bringing in so much nuance and words that I think we need to sort of expand on. The first word that I quite liked is the persona word, which basically means self and understanding and an intricate understanding 360 of who you are, what it is that you do, and how you relate to your circumstance and environment, because you also brought in the aspect of we should you should know what it is that you're bringing to the table. Now, at that time, was information available for people to actually learn who they are? And also, in you answering that question, how did you manage to learn about yourself at that particular time?
In the early years when I first came face to face with personal branding, I didn't have a methodology back then like I have now. We've built a whole software around my methodology now. I think that for me, I've always been a very curious, inquisitive, very deep person. I think that I would describe myself as quite stoic. I'm very much into philosophy. My spirituality is a major part of who I am. And I think that I always saw personal branding, and elements of it. You talk about persona, you talk about your gifts, your talents, your values. I never saw it as like a personality test, like the Myers-Briggs corporate personality test. To me, I couldn't think of anything more weird. Like I used to find that really odd that I would have to belong to a category of persona because it makes it easier for HR to categorize you. I can't be categorized. I'm a black sheep, I'm a trailblazer, I'm not going to comply. So forget it. You've got no chance with me, which is why I had so many issues with HR because I would constantly challenge them on fitting in these little boxes. I think where I saw my version come to life, if you will, I saw it more as my soul print. I didn't see it as like, oh, this is my personality type. It was like, this is my soul print. If I've got a fingerprint and I've got a DNA code, that is exclusive to Mary and Mary only. I must have a soul print as well. Let me explore that. And I think that because I'm so interested, if you will, in the meaning of life, like what am I here, and really, really go deep down that rabbit hole, I think that really activated how I saw my version of personal branding and its meaning behind it.
Fantastic. And you know what you're bringing towards here is very, very fascinating, because at the time that you were in between all of this is where pixels, bytes, binary and everything else that came along with it. And people wanted to measure if this, then that, you know what I mean? You put this
Yeah.
in, this
Yeah.
comes out, and there you are coming in with words like soul print, my own
Yes.
personal brand and things of that nature. I would have
Yes.
imagined in a boardroom, people would just be looking at you going, Mary, do we have to call people or?
Well, it's very interesting that you say that, Prosper, because, I was brought into these organizations, and especially my last corporate job, which was just almost a startup in APAC. So they had acquired another company, it was valued at $4 million, and they brought me in a sales capacity to grow that business. So 48 months later, I grew that business from 4 million to 54 million. And the president of our company, he would always say, you're the only person in the entire company globally that flies business class, stays in 5-star hotels, blah, 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 blah. You don't comply, you go against the grain, you're always doing it your own way. And I used to say, well, you can't complain because I walked in at 4 million and it's now 54 million. He goes, absolutely, I'm not complaining. And I think because I delivered on results and I am outcome results driven 100%, nobody really stopped and questioned my version of, how I wanted to work with my sales team, how I wanted to create my sales team, how I wanted to motivate my sales team to become the best version of themselves. I believed that every one of my salespeople should make 6-figure incomes, every single one of them. And every single one of them did. That was my absolute driver. Because when you have, when you have an organization that backs you, you've got great products and you've got a great leadership, you can do anything. You just need someone to believe in you. And so for me, that personal branding element was such a critical part of the puzzle, because I could match the right individual with the right portfolio that can be unapologetically themselves. And that was the key. That was the key. Rather than saying, here's your job description and do it this way, I said, no, we don't have job descriptions. They already know what they need to do. I just need to understand, who are they at their core? When I can understand that, we can create miracles in this organization. And my methodology worked. The interesting thing is that when I left that company, they didn't follow through on the methodology, and things changed. And so they should, of course, everything evolves. But I think that when you have a system or a methodology that delivers results. Here's the other thing, Prosper. Nobody could have done what I did because it was unique to me. It was my soul print. I brought that into the organization. It can't be copied. It can be sort of copied, but no one can deliver it in the way that I delivered it. And we have to understand that this is the power of personal branding, is that we are not all the same, is that we are all different, but nobody can do what I do, or nobody can do what you do, Prosper, in the way that you do it.
Absolutely. And I mean, obviously, in the sense of, small to medium businesses, that is something that is super, super celebrated. But I suppose in the corporate world, where they just want to treat people like cogs in a machine, they want things to be replicated and then amplified moving forward. Did you maybe face any rebuttal in the way that you were operating? I mean, obviously they would have looked at what you're doing and thought there's no maybe either science or there's nothing that they can do to emulate that. Like you say, it was your own sort of soul set. And like from that time as well, from all I've been reading, you were way, way ahead of your time. Because even
Yeah.
up until now, people are still looking at their jobs as job descriptions. Nobody's looking at themselves as a brand that is a part of a whole. Did you find, it difficult to get ahead, at that time, or was it easy because your personality also paved way, for that to be accepted at that time?
I think actually it was quite difficult. It was a real challenge. I was constantly head to head with my CEO. We were two very different people with two very different value system. I guess for me, the thing a lot of people didn't challenge me because I brought in results. So nobody really wanted to rock the boat. When we were in, certain situations, people were threatened by that, or they felt uncomfortable around who I was and how I saw the world. But you see, the thing is that I never really worried about that. That didn't change who I was or my vision or my passion or my mission and purpose. That really never changed. Even till this day, Prosper, I don't really care about that. But I think when we look at personal branding, as a way of showing up in the world, as a way of amplifying your voice. Even till this day, I don't think that a lot of people truly understand what it is and how it benefits you. I think that a lot of people have converted personal branding into this notion that it's about fame and fortune. And it's not that at all. I mean, well, certainly where I come from, that is not my version of personal branding whatsoever. I've had a lot of people that want me to help them become influencers and, get famous on social media. I don't work with those people at all. I have no interest in that whatsoever. Um, and I think that what we need to do is we need to define what it really means. Is it worship of the ego, or is it truly serving a community based on your mastery? So which one is it? And you've got to choose which side of the coin you want to play. And I play on the side of mastery because to me, that's how we're going to solve complex problems in the world and make the world a much better place. This other side of being an influence and being famous for being famous and worshiping the ego is not for me. That's completely against my value system.
Absolutely. And I can literally see the 10,000 hours just going through from the way you sound and the way you talk, and everything else that comes along with it. Mastery is so important, and a lot of people just dabble in a lot of things that they're doing so much that it shows. And when they then, are asked to perform whatever it is that they're wanting to perform, the cracks start showing. Now, there's a statement that you mentioned a little bit earlier on while we're still, on the introductory sort of part of this, Mary. And thank you so much for playing ball with me. You mentioned that humans are multifaceted beings, all right? So if we're looking at everything else that is happening, there's yin yang, masculine, feminine, and all of that stuff that's coming in. And we're being forced to, be a part of economy. We're also being forced to be in relationships. We're also being forced to be just so many different things to so many people. Maybe you can touch up on that and how one can actually hone in to what exactly they might actually put out and say, you know what, I think this is where my brand truly lies, and this is who I'm going to show up as.
I think that's a really great question, Prosper, because when people look at personal branding, the starting point is always, which really confuses me, and I don't understand why people do this. And it's a big problem because starting your personal brand from how do I build my profile in the outer world? So on social media, say for example, that is not the right starting point. Your personal brand is the effect of your mastery. So the starting point is, what do I do? Who do I serve? What do I promise? I think those three questions have to be answered with absolute precision. And the thing here is that we really need to understand the one complex problem that we can solve. You know what people do? They say, oh, I've got all of these certifications, I've got all of these degrees, I've got a PhD here, I've got a master's here, and and what about all of my roles and blah, blah, blah. And it's like, so what? No one really cares about your certifications. So the question is, out of all of that inventory, and I do call it inventory, what is the problem that you can solve? And I have a very very deep and wide methodology around this, because when you can unpack your mastery and you understand the problem that you can solve, you understand that you can absolutely, without a shadow of a doubt, deliver outcomes, results, and transformation. Not only will you be known as the go-to person and be able to command premium pricing, but in that solution, therein lies micro and nano solutions. And may I just add another word in there, unlimited micro and nano solutions. So until we actually dive deep and understand how to unpack that, your brand is on hold, because you'll always try and follow trends, or try and do what Joe Blow's doing, or, oh, that sounds good, I'll do that this month. Which is why you see so many people change their profile titles on LinkedIn week in, week out, for exactly this reason, because they actually don't understand what I do, who I serve, what I promise. They have no concept of that. So the personal brand needs to be the effect of the cause, not the cause of the effect. And when we can actually understand that, then and only then can you start to define your brand essence. The brand essence is actually where your truth lies. Inside your brand essence, you then need to fully self-realize, what are my attributes? What are my core attributes? What is my value system? And how is that consistent and congruent with what I do, who I serve, and what I promise? So if we don't understand that from the standpoint of what I do, who I serve, what I promise, how am I going to be able to articulate what I am as a brand? Because essentially, what is a personal brand? It's you, the business. You are the product and you are the service, period. That's it. And so when you're the product and the service, you've got to package yourself as a product and a service. So it's not just, I'm just a coach. Okay, that's great that you're a coach, but what type of coach? What problem do you solve? What are the solutions you offer? Who do you serve? What is it that you absolutely promise? What are the outcomes you can deliver? What are the results you deliver? What is the transformation the client gets? What is your pricing model? All of this is important information for the effect, which is your brand.
Now, just from all you're saying, could not going on this journey and really finding the core thing that you're serving, like you say, and what it is that you're delivering, would that be the reason why we've got this stat that not so many businesses go past the 3-year mark?
Yeah, oh my God, absolutely, 100%. Because what happens, Prosper, I can tell you why, especially in the space that I'm in. I work with solopreneurs. So typically people that are transitioning out of corporate, they've had 30 years and now they want to go down the consultancy path, or the ones that have been in it for a year, two, some 5. And what they're trying to do is, a lot of people try and package their businesses as if they're working in corporate. That's not going to work. That is absolutely never going to work. Forget it. So what we have to do is go back to what I've just mentioned, is that we have to look at our mastery like inventory, which is why I say before, the multifaceted version of you means that you have a lot of knowledge, a lot of wisdom, and a lot of skills in your professional experience and your personal. Now, the key is you got to merge those together so they meet halfway, because the client doesn't care about my methodology and my frameworks. They actually don't care. Why do I say that? My clients don't know how great my product is until they start working with me. No matter how many features and benefits I sell, they still don't actually understand how brilliant the product is until they actually pay for it. So what are they buying? Before that, what are they actually buying? They're buying my wisdom. They're buying the fact that I create environments that make them feel great to buy into my brand. That's what I do. So I can't sit. Could you imagine selling your features and benefits of your coaching program? It'll take me 4 years to go through all of the moving parts. So I have to create language around what it is that I do. I've got to create language around the wisdom that I can bring to the table, because ultimately that's what the client wants. They want the security that, oh, hang on a minute, this person has got 23 years behind her, but my personal experience is even more rich than my professional experience. So when you merge those two together, which we all have, by the way, not just me, all of us, we just leave the personal out of the way. But the personal is even more potent because your story becomes your way. That is very important, information that we need to incorporate as part of our offering. And then the brand is leads that story. The language we wrap around what we do becomes the brand essence. It becomes the brand story, the brand signature, the brand truth. And that's where we need to be. And I see a lot of people going in from the brand standpoint, but coming from the standpoint of wanting to be famous. I'm saying drop that. That is a short-term, fantasy that a lot of the influencers have created this perception. Oh, you've got to build your brand. I don't understand how you can build your brand. I can't build my brand, but my audience and my paying clients and the people that follow my work, they can build my brand because they become my brand advocates. I can't build it. I can only define it.
That's fine. While you're saying that, I was just gonna delete all the videos that I put in the morning of me dancing on TikTok, hoping they could go viral. So
I'll make sure that I like them, okay?
oh, thank you. That would mean the world to me. I quite like how you brought in so many people when they're coming into this space. Like you say, they probably were holding some position at work and they just want to bring that level of either respect or brand essence. Because if you're a consultant with KPMG or whatever
Yep.
alphabet, consultancy out there, you just bring people up and say the name. You don't necessarily need to say your name. The people already know the brand because the footwork and all that work has been done before.
Yeah.
Now,
Yeah.
the one thing that then happens in our space, like you say, it's all introspective. People have to go on a journey within, okay? And I don't think a lot of people can handle the truth.
Oh, no. No way. No.
So I wanted to bring us up to the part where you actually went above and beyond with that all introspection, because you took a 12-month sabbatical. Walk us through what was happening there, and did you visit an ashram, or what did you end up doing?
Oh, I would have loved to have done that. I had my company that I built myself. This is my own software company, and I had that for 7 years. And in 2011, I just fell rock bottom. I was like, what am I doing here? This is not what I want to do for the rest of my life. I was still searching for validation from my parents. I come from a migrant family, so I still wanted the tap on the shoulder, the good little girl type of thing. So there was a lot going on inside myself. I had then given birth to my second son, and literally it would have been, I would say, 3 hours after I gave birth to my second child, I knew that I was going to resign from my own company. Now, I had built this company into 7 figures. I had an infrastructure, I had staff, I had a beautiful office in Flinders Lane in Melbourne in the Arts District. I mean, it was like everything was, on the outside, I looked really successful. On the inside, I was absolutely dying. And And then 2 weeks after that, I had a meeting with my accountants, and I said, I'm sorry, I need to resign from my own company. My accountant laughed and he said, oh, you're just hormonal, don't be ridiculous. And I said, oh, no, I've really got to go. Like, I need to take time out. So we thankfully merged my company with another company January 1st, 2012. I took a 12-month sabbatical. I found two mentors. One was a professor in philosophy at Oxford University, and he had been a professor in philosophy for 35 years or whatever. And I really wanted academics. Like, I didn't want the the guru coaches. I was not interested in any of that. It was really, give me the knowledge. I need the knowledge. And so it was him and another mentor who was an expert in the emotional body. And what happened is that I had these amazing mentors who held a space, and they allowed me to self-actualize my potential, the possibilities that lay in me, ask really big questions, become curious, learn about my spirituality in a way that I could never have learned it in a book. It's definitely not self-help books. And so I think what I learned in that 12-month period is that spirituality is not something that you read. It's something that you have to experience yourself. And because I went down that path, and I've never stopped going down that path, it really allowed me to fully appreciate, going back to that word multifaceted, it made me appreciate that I'm not just good at that. I'm really good at these things. So what do I do with these things? These things that I know how to do with ease and grace, how do I take that and turn that into a vocation that I'm going to love and that I can serve, and that is an extension of who I am, not who I want to be, not who my parents want me to be, of who I am. And what I do today is a result of that sabbatical. And I'm very, very, very passionate about it. And which is why I work with solopreneurs for exactly that reason, because I find that a lot of people hit midlife crisis around the 40 to 45, 50 age group, and they think that they're in a crisis, but actually they're not. What I believe it is that you need to come face to face with your true self, and come face to face with the truth. And once you start to go down that rabbit hole, you have to get comfortable being very uncomfortable. But the result of that is that you are in full service to humanity, because I am exactly what I was designed to do and be. And I feel that when you're in that place, the freedom that you experience inside of yourself is, I can't explain it. It's not something that you can go and buy or you can go and read. You have to feel it in your soul. And I think that when I look at personal branding, I look at it from that standpoint. How can I show this person the beauty and the deliciousness that they already hold inside of them, but they haven't seen it like that yet? And that's where I take people. People have cathartic experiences when they work with me. They cry. It's very emotional because you're coming face to face with your truth. And I say to people, well, that's what I'm going to work with. I don't care who you aspire to be like. You can aspire to be like Oprah or Tony Robbins, and that's awesome. And they're amazing people, but that's not who you are. And you're not meant to be those people. You're meant to be you. So let's take what you've got and we work with that. And that's all we need, because you are enough. And when I can show people what they have, it's life-changing. It's the only way I can describe it.
So you literally give people back to themselves.
I think so. I think that that's exactly, I feel like I unzip them.
Yep.
And I say, here's the mirror. Look at that beauty. Look at the richness that you have inside of you. Look at the currency that you are sitting on. And I think that when I've got goosebumps, even as I just said that, when I can show people that they are sitting on a gold mine, it changes the game, because people then see themselves completely different. It's like you raise their consciousness level so high so quickly that they get so motivated to take what they have, that inventory, that knowledge, that wisdom, that skill set, the passion, all of that. You take their gifts, their talents, their persona, their value system, all of those attributes. When you can see it from the standpoint of a currency, then people get activated and they can see how they can serve on a much bigger scale.
Real, because knowing what I'm understanding from the type of work that you're doing and the experience that you had, so many people are disconnected from the head to the heart, and there's not that connection. And like we've established, you're handing them back. They're still the same person, only
Yes.
now they have a newfound understanding of how them as a whole person can literally be firing on all cylinders. Now, Mary, I want you to indulge me a little bit here, if you may.
Yeah.
Where I come from, right, in Africa, when you turn 13 to about 16, you are proverbially called in by the village heads, and there's a whole bunch of you guys all at the same age or whatever it is, and you are what they call proverbially tap you on the shoulder and let you know now it's your turn to lead. So some people might call it a rite of passage, some people might call it initiation or things of that nature. I mean, obviously, if you watch on National Geographic, they show you the scary ones, but usually you are taught how to make a fire, you're taught how to skin an animal, you're taught skills that you would have not been allowed to do because you were still a kid. And normally, when you then return back to your parents, you can now do the jobs that men do. You have been
Yes.
elevated to become something. Now, you might indulge me. While you were going through your go-throughs in 2011, I was actually flying into Australia, and you were, going into your sabbatical. So we were probably high-fiving each other. You coming from the corporate, I'm going back in, and it was all just a shock for me. So what I noticed, and I'm going to say this with utmost love and respect, there's a lot of fully grown babies in this sort of world where people just go from a kindergarten, high school, university, and then they just get plowed into a job or into a relationship, and then everything is all just ticking boxes. Because the reason I'm calling it fully grown babies, and I say it out of love and respect, is because big men, big women are throwing tantrums as if they're a 3-year-old. You know what I mean? Screaming, yelling,
Yes.
and bickering at people,
Yes.
things like that. I'm thinking no one has taken the time to break the pattern and show them it's their turn to lead. And I feel like what you're doing, maybe part of the I am code or the systems that you're coming up with and things of that nature, are somewhat of a rite of passage for those people that are now graduating into businesses that are profitable and enjoyable. It just so happens to happen in a space where you are holding space for them. I mean, you can comment on that or not if you feel like you know.
I think that that's a fantastic, observation that you've made. And I absolutely agree with you. Here's where the problem lies. The problem for most of humanity is that we come from a school system that has tricked us into believing that micro steps is how you win, and and we compete by learning things off by heart to get the A's and the B's and the C's. That's another word for that's called hustling. Okay. So then we graduate and then we go to university because they tell us that if you go to university, you're going to get a really good job and you're going to be very successful and you're going to, be wealthy or whatever. But we know that that's not the truth. So we know that what we have is we have corporate slavery. I mean, who works 60 hours a week, makes somebody else's, company rich. I get told that I can only have 4 weeks holidays per year, and I'm told when to have those holidays per year, and that's apparently called life. You see, what happened is that It's very seductive. This whole, corporate hamster wheel is very seductive. Oh, I'll give you an extra 50 grand if you do this. You got to work an extra 50 hours a week. So you're not going to see your family, but hey, you're going to make $350,000 or whatever. It's very seductive. So, oh, you go on business class, you go here, you go there, you go. So people buy into this idea that that's freedom. We know it's not freedom. We know that that is the worship of the ego in the highest degree. So now people say, I want freedom. I want to leave my corporate job. By the way, there are so many senior executives right now that are losing their jobs. And a lot of them are losing their jobs because of AI, just to throw that in. This is happening in real time right now. And so now we have 50 plus who are highly, highly skilled. They in fact have incredible skills and they can solve incredibly complex problems, but they are so scared of going down the path of starting their own business because, as you say, we have adults, but really we have babies in adult bodies. So they go into this idea of hustle, 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 which again is an extension of the school system. The school system teaches you how to hustle. So they continue going down this path of hustling. And where does hustle lead us? Hustle does not lead to success. Why? Because it requires two key ingredients that they learn from the corporate world. One is that it takes a lot of brain power from your body, a lot of energy and limited time. You have 24 hours a day and you're spending all of your energy fulfilling somebody else's dream. That limits your earning capacity, even in corporate. So when you leave corporate and you want to start your business, you're programmed to hustle. And you can't create wealth or freedom from hustle mindset. Because can you see to what you said? It is a baby way of seeing reality. You've been programmed to think like that from the age of 5. You go to school, to university, and your corporate job, and you're hustling because you've been programmed to believe that. Number one. Number two is that we've also been programmed, again, from the school system, that you only need micro little wins along the way. They're going to get you, they're going to get you really, really, really far. No, that's not the truth either. You need to make massive leaps. And in between those massive leaps, yes, micro steps, but you need to make really big leaps in the solopreneur world or the entrepreneurial world. Why? Speed is everything when you run your own business. Forget about these nonsense baby steps, micro steps. Well, I haven't got 25 lifetimes to wait to become successful. I want it now. So I'm going to take, big leaps. And because people don't understand the concept of speed and taking big leaps, they'll make commentary like, oh, don't get burnt out, be careful, blah, blah, blah. I'm not getting burnt out when I'm making a big leap. You're getting burnt out because you're hustling all day and working 60 hours a week. I'm lucky if I work 20 hours a week. So, so what I'm trying to say here is that to be successful as an entrepreneur or solopreneur and to experience that level of freedom, because we all can, it is totally possible. You need to upskill yourself and stop pretending that your corporate background and your certificates or degrees is going to get you where you want to get to, because it's not. What do I mean by skill set? You have to rinse and repeat that skill until you get to mastery. How many people know what I do? It's 23 years of day in, day out. That's mastery. So if you're going to start a coaching or consulting business, do you have the 23 years skill set that I have to get to mastery? Probably not. So your corporate life and your degrees is not the mastery required to build an entrepreneur business, because first of all, the mindset's completely different. And second of all, we have to unlearn what we've learned, from the age of 5. Now, that is very confronting for a lot of people. Why? Because the hamster wheel is seductive. We keep going back to that same, rinse and repeat. People feel so much more comfortable to say, oh, I just landed a new job. It's paying you 250 grand a year. Don't worry about 60 hours or 80 hours a week. I have to travel and not see my children. sorry, Prosper, my children are my priority. Like, so that's the whole point of why I did what I did, so that I could raise my children, and so I'm just extending to what you're saying about, adults in babies in adult bodies.
Absolutely. I quite love that. I could tell the emotion in all of that. Now, for those that haven't been initiated, where would be the best place that people can get a hold of you there, Mary?
My website, maryhendersoncoaching.com. Please feel free to email me, mary@maryhendersoncoaching.com, and LinkedIn and Facebook and Instagram at Mary Henderson Coaching.
Absolutely. And just so that not everybody else, and I know there's three people that usually watch my videos, including my grandma. What sort of people do you want to actually reach out to you, or what sort of people do you end up working with? And maybe while you're doing that, you could maybe walk us through, because we've heard your success story, but maybe you can walk us through a success story where your system design approach has actually brought remarkable results for a particular client.
I think all the clients that I've worked with that have success, they all started with understanding the problem that they can solve, understanding the solution that they bring to the table. They understand very clearly the outcomes and the results that they deliver. They define their brand. We build an entire sales and marketing system and content system around what they do. So everything's bespoke. And I've had clients, Prosper. I mean, I've had a client that's made 250K in 8 weeks of launching. I have most of my clients are turning over 6 figures within the first 12 months of launching. So the reason they do that is because they implement a system, and that's that's the thing that I'm very passionate about. If you're going to build a business, you need to have systems in place in every area of your business. So the people that typically work with me are either senior executives in career transition. They want to go down this path. People that have been in this game for a while, and it's not working. They're stuck. They've hit a glass ceiling. They could already be coaches or consultants. They're also the people I work with as well. But most people that I work with have 20, 10, 15, 20, 30 years experience in their area of specialization. And that for me is the gold mine. I want that, and I want to turn that into, a solution and also a brand.
Absolutely, because if people have taken the time to learn all of that, all of that stuff, there is some profound knowledge that they can pass down or send the elevator down. Now, you've
Yes.
built your personal brand so much that you've been featured in so many publications, and I think you were in the Sabian, is that the Sabian
Yes.
mainstream news?
Yes.
Really? Yes,
Yes.
yes. And you're now regarded as a thought leader within the whole digital sort of sector. Well, what's been the most rewarding aspect of being recognized as an expert in your field? Because so many people are brought up, like you were saying, in a culture where there's participation trophies, tall poppy or whatever it is, and so they don't really want to step out there. But you have gone there, been there, and done that. And now you're a thought leader in this space. And people like us, you should see me. I'm shaking in my boots just conducting this interview here, Mary Anderson, because
Oh,
of the amount of
you're
respect
so
I have for the work.
You're amazing. I walk my talk. I think that's all I can say to you. I don't really care about who's interviewing me, what magazine I'm on, what TV. I don't see that as, oh, I've made it. I actually don't care about anything like that at all. My purpose and my mission is to serve. That's it. It's all I care about. Everything else for me comes because of that. And I walk my talk. And that's all I care about. If I don't walk my talk, there's going to be a disconnect. So if you work with me, you interview me on podcast or a TV or a magazine, or you and I sitting together having a coffee, this is the version of me that you're always going to see. I'm like this in my home. I'm like this everywhere. And I feel that in our society, we're actually missing that. We're missing the whole point of being yourself and loving who you see in the mirror. And that's the message I want to bring into the world. So when I'm working with middle-aged people, they can look at me and say, if she can do it, I can do it. That's my point.
Love that authenticity, because so many people are hiding behind the screen of their phone,
Yes.
and thinking they're, anonymous, and some end up, being armchair warriors and not actually applying themselves to actually create something remarkable. Now, just from the start of this conversation, I've just been in awe of everything you've accomplished and things of that nature. So many people aspire to maybe just even make a five-figure, let alone a six-figure company. But you went on and created a seven-figure company, and then you let it all go so you can seek your most authentic self. And that in and of itself is remarkable, because of all the things we may want in life, we haven't won ourselves. We haven't won the battle that means the most, because wherever you are, there you are. You can't walk around, saying, yeah, I've got a seven-figure business, I've got an eight-figure business, like we said early on. Nobody cares. Now, what sort of advice would you give to Sally and John who are watching this video right now? And like I said, this could be watched in 2058, and they're currently feeling stuck in their own hamster wheel, thinking, I can just do what's enough so that at least I, get those likes, get viral and things of that nature.
I think that the most important advice I can give people if they want to go down this path is that we have to get out of this mindset of band-aiding, what we want to establish in our life. And I'm not saying you have to go and get a coach or a mentor or anything like that, although I think that's really important. But if we have a void in our skill set, or this is not your area of expertise is not building businesses, you have to be honest with that and say, this is not my area of specialization. I know what I want to do. I know the type of people I can serve. I can see that there's a void in this industry as an example, but I need help packaging myself. I need help to create a solution or a product or a service, etc. You need to seek help. In today's economy, I don't think that we can get away with reading one book and calling ourselves an expert. I don't believe that we can do that. I believe today that the businesses that are going to survive are the ones that truly, truly can showcase their mastery in the form of a solution. The ones that actually can show up as a brand, be consistent and congruent with their solution, the ones that come from a place of service first. If you can do that, you're actually going to beat any AI platform that comes to fruition. You're also going to beat all of the wannabe Me Too coaches that are and consultants that are coming through that read 5 books and suddenly they're experts, because they all have a short-term life. They don't have the breadth and the depth. And I say this all the time. The wisdom economy needs mastery. They are looking for mastery. So Fortune 500 companies are not going to pay an Instagram influencer to sit in a boardroom to solve a complex problem, but they are looking for the 55-year-old John Smith who has 30 years in a finance background who can solve a complex problem. They need John, not 20-year-old Instagram, look at me, with hardly any clothes on his or her body. We don't want that. We don't need that. We've been there, done that. It's yesterday's news. I think that a lot of people are sick and tired of it as well, Prosper. People want outcomes. They want results. They want transformation, period. They don't want information. They want outcomes. So anyone that wants to go down this path, you do have mastery, you're in hot demand. Do something with it.
Absolutely. I think it was Bruce Lee that mentioned that I'm not afraid of a man that has practiced one, 10,000 kicks once, but I am afraid of the man that has practiced one kick 10,000 times. So it's not necessarily 10,000. Even if you hear, all these other people, what was it? The guy who did the electricity had 10,000 failed experiments. It's just there's that number that you have to do it immensely. And
Yes.
you were talking about Scott from finance, who has gone through the Great Depression, the great, all those financial
Yes.
crises, and also people that have gone through COVID and seen themselves across from that. That experience is what people are looking for. It's not doing duck faces, on
No,
your camera, because all of that
not at all.
can.
Yeah. Well, that's what I'm saying. It has an end of life date. It's limiting, very limiting.
Absolutely. Well, this is a whole breath of fresh air, especially when it comes to the personal branding space, because everybody else is just talking about selfies in this space. Nobody's talking about the whole self, applying yourself and actually going personal, in your way to brand. And I must say, I'm actually happy we caught you before you took yet another sabbatical, because I think your office told me you are now into just being silent and you don't want to be bothered. So I really appreciate you coming down and speak with us today. What else can people expect from the great Mary Henderson? I mean, you've done the seven figures, you've been Y2K compliant. I think you owe us a book.
Yes, well, who knows? That could be in the making. Who knows?
Uh,
That's for the next interview that you and I will do.
we'll be launching the book, right? The vow to silence,
Exactly.
how to be a silent personal brand. And we're just having a backtrack going, oh.
Yeah. Absolutely. You're spot
Well,
on.
has been letting us know, but it's all about, you being your personal, bringing your whole full self possible, and it's all about legacy. Now, if you want to amplify your brand and create impact, I think Mary is the go-to expert in this realm, and I can't thank you enough for the time that you spend with us. I'll be putting all that information in the show notes there so that people can actually get a hold of you right there. Now, thank you so much. And yeah, all the best for those that are watching right now. Don't forget to subscribe, because you never know what we might bring to the show. Bye for now.